Excel offers a variety of functions that allow us to manipulate string or text data. These include len, which is used to identify the length of a given field, and trim, which is used to remove extra white space from a field. Excel also has a set of case functions, proper, upper, and lower, that can be used to adjust the alphabetical case of a field. On the fourth tab, titled String Fields, we can see a partial listing of United States airport codes. You may notice that there's some cleaning we need to apply to these messy data. First, let's use the len function to make sure that our airport codes are 3 letters long. I'll insert a column and call it code length. In cell B5, let's use the len function and apply it to the airport code in cell A5. When we press enter to complete the formula, we can see that this code is 5 characters long. I'll use autofill to place this formula in each row. Notice that all of our codes are 5 letters long, but looking closely, we can see that this is because each of our codes are preceded by white space. Perhaps an analyst entered these spaces when they were entering the data. To remove leading and trailing white space in a field, we can use the trim function in Excel. I'll rename our column Valid Code. Now let's enter the trim function in cell B5 and use cell A5 as our argument. When we press enter, Excel removes or trims the white space from the data in cell A5 and places it in cell B5. I'll autofill this formula for each row. We now have 2 columns of airport codes, which can make analysis confusing. We want to delete the first column, so I'll highlight the data, right-click to select delete, and shift the columns to the left. When I click OK, notice that our data did indeed shift to the left, but we have a reference error in our updated airport code column. This is because Excel is still trying to apply our formula to a cell that no longer exists. This is a very common error, and I want to show you how to correct it. First, let's click Undo to reverse our column deletion. Now, let's look again at cell B5, where we see our trim formula. However, we only want the results of this in this column, but we no longer need the original formula itself. We can keep the values by highlighting the data we want to keep and selecting Copy from the Edit menu. Now that we've copied these data, return to the Edit menu and select Paste Special, and then select Values from the dialog box. This tells Excel that we want to paste the actual values that are contained in the cell. That is, the results of the formula rather than the formula itself. Let's click OK. Now when we look at cell B5, notice that it no longer contains our trim formula, but instead contains the value ORD with no leading white space, just as though we had typed it in ourselves. Now, we can again select our data in column A, select Delete, and shift cells left. This time, our pasted values stay intact. Case functions allow you to adjust the alphabetical case of a field. Here we see the text string John Doe, and we'll use it to illustrate the 3 common case functions. Lower converts all letters to lowercase. Similarly, upper converts all letters to uppercase. Proper will capitalize the first letter of each word in a string, as in a name or title. Returning to our partial listing of airport codes, notice that the alphabetical case of our airport codes is inconsistent and looks a bit unprofessional. I'll add another column called Capital Code so that we can use Excel to fix this. In cell B5, I'll use the upper function, which converts all of the letters in a string to uppercase, and I'll specify cell A5 as the argument. I'll then autofill the formula for all rows. Notice now that our codes appear the way we would expect. Now let's again highlight our updated codes and copy them. We can also access Paste Values by clicking the Paste drop-down from the Home ribbon and selecting Paste Values. When we hit OK, notice that our upper formula is replaced by the calculated value. We can now delete the old airport code column. There are also strange capitalizations in our airport name column. That was a messy analyst. Let's clean this up as well. I'll add a column called Airport and use the proper function to apply the appropriate case. I'll enter the function in cell C5 and specify cell B5 as its argument. Notice that Chicago O'Hare International Airport was already correctly capitalized, so nothing changed. However, when I autofill the formula for each row of our report, notice that Excel applies the proper capitalization. For example, John F. Kennedy International Airport and Seattle-Tacoma International Airport had errors, but they don't now. Once more, I'll copy our data and use paste values to keep the results of our formula. Then, I'll delete the old airport name column. Our report of airport codes containing clean data looks more professional and is ready for use.